Please welcome Mr. Martin Tan.
Hello, hello, hello! How's everyone doing? Oh, come on. How's everybody doing? All right, I'm going to try something, okay? Can I Instagram you? Now, we are celebrating our 10th birthday this year. So it will be really, really cool to have 1,200 of you say happy birthday. Do you think you can do that? So I'm going to put you on Instagram. I'm going to put you on video. All right? So by the count of 3, I'm going to pan from here to here and then to here. What do you think? Does it work? People at the top, are you ready? All right, here we go. We'll say 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Halogen. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Well done. It is really, really good to be here. As the MCs have shared, it's a rather emotional day for me. So I'm going to be a little bit different today. Is that okay? 10 years ago, I stand on a stage much like this. It was only 1,000 people, and we ran the very first Young Leaders Day. That was in 2003. And we had 1,000 students. All those 1,000 students have all since graduated. We worked in a school, in Temasek Secondary School for the last 8 years. And we're... There we go. And we have the privilege of going to Temasek every year for 8 years. And many of your schools as well. So... it has been a huge, huge privilege. So for the very last time as the executive director, I'm taking the stage. And guess what? Because I'm leaving, they make me carry the chair by myself. That's what you get for being the boss, okay? So instead of what I used to do, which is to prance around the stage and talking about leadership, can I use this opportunity to share with you just personally? Is that okay? Is that all right with you? So it's not going to be about leadership. Well, it is going to be a little bit about leadership, but it's going to be a little bit about my story, the things I have learned, and I hope you will like it. Is that all right? All right. So let's see if we can get it on the screen. Not this slide. I've titled what I want to share with you today called 36 and Counting. Why 36 and counting? Many of you know this. I'm 18 years old this year. Come on. I am 36 years old this year, which means that officially I'm no longer a youth. So sad. They don't invite me for youth events anymore because 35 is the cutoff age. I asked myself, what would I share today? My staff tell me, don't just share the halogen things that you go around schools doing. Share your story. And I thought that was a great idea. And I want to focus my time, the 10, 15 minutes that I have, to answer one question, which is this. If today was my final day, not just as the executive director, if today is the last day of my life, if shortly after I finish my talk, I drop dead and die, which is not going to happen, but just in case, right? And I only have one last opportunity to spend time with 1,200 young people, what would I say to them? So I spent the last few days thinking about this question. And guess what? My 2 daughters came out to my mind. Some of you would know I got 2 daughters. Megan is 7. Meredith is 5. Megan is the one with the spectacles. And Meredith is the one that's looking up. That's my 2 daughters. This photo was taken just 2 days ago at the night festival. And I think of the 2 of them, I say, you know what? If today is my last day, what will I share with my daughters? What will be the lessons I have learned that I want to impart with them because I don't have the opportunity to journey with them as they grow up. So I want to leave them something. So I'm going to spend the next 10, 15 minutes sharing that with you. Is that all right? I've also chosen to do one thing which I hardly do, which is I'm going to do the entire presentation using pictures to tell stories. Almost every single of the pictures you're going to see are photos that I have taken through my years and different parts of travel. There's only one photo that I took it from the internet. So I want you to guess which photo. Is that all right? So, here we go. That's my family. Aren't the girls cute? Just like the father. You know what, guys? I look back at my last 36 years, I think I've lived a pretty full life. I really think. I'm very thankful to God that I have the opportunity to go through different experiences. I think I've lived a pretty full life so far. Just so far. That's me. I think I was 4 years old in that picture, 3-year-old in that picture. I was kind of a rascal. I'm the youngest of 3 boys in my home. Always the loudest one. Always telling people what to do. I have a bossy streak in me. My grandfather was a village chief during his time in Singapore. My mother's father, my maternal grandfather, was the gangster chief at my time. So the son of the village chief married the daughter of the gangster chief. And there lies my lineage and heritage. And when I went to school, I had the privilege over the last 36 years to be involved in sports that I enjoy. I spent a couple of years with the Football Association of Singapore. This is my secondary school. And I am actually a registered soccer coach, believe it or not. And I spent a couple of years working with Nike Soccer School, working with kids 9 years old and running a team back then in the 90s. How many of you love football? All right. I support 2 teams. I support Liverpool and any team that plays Man U. But soccer is in my blood. I absolutely love the game. I don't play very well, but I have a good mind, I have the presence of mind. I work with the guys, and we have a really, really good time. Some of these guys that you see in this photo are still playing soccer in that field that we're looking at. That's our secondary school. I had the privilege of traveling to different places in my last 36 years. I had the privilege of travel to 124 cities and towns from 22 different countries in 5 different continents. I count it a huge privilege to be able to work with children and students from different countries, talking about leadership, working in missions field, working in orphanages, helping homes, and doing teaching of English and so on in all my different travels. And that has given me great meaning and great fulfillment in life. I had a chance of meeting really, really cool people. And for some of you who may not know this gentleman, he is none other than His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. We had a chance to spend 40 minutes with him, the man who believes that peace can come if we all work together. He is one of the most respected figures in the world today. And to be able to spend 40 minutes with him is like one of the most surreal experiences that I've ever had. And there are many different people that I had a chance to meet, but he would rank one of the most special meetings that we had. I had a chance to walk across the road in Kabul in Afghanistan. I did a 3-day leadership program for some of the young people there. My American friend thought I was crazy to be walking by myself without a bodyguard in Afghanistan. I crossed the road from my hotel because I really wanted to buy bread. Whichever country I'm in, I like to eat local. I like to meet the locals. I like to talk to the locals, and that's what I did. I spent 4 days. Can I say that the flying there was one of my scariest experiences? For the first time in my life, I thought about writing a will. Because of what you see on CNN, you see all the bombings and so on. I went on Wikipedia and I checked the hotel I was staying in. It's called Safi Landmark Hotel. And I was reading the entire thing, and I showed my wife, hey, it's beside a shopping mall. And I stopped halfway because I didn't want her to read further, because the paragraph after that, about half a year before I went there, it was bombed by a suicide bomber. But I didn't really want my wife to read that part. I had a chance to visit one of the places I've always wanted to go, which is the White House. Which is kind of cool, which is really, really cool. I have a great respect for Barack Obama, and to be able to visit the White House during his administration is quite something. And my friend went one step further. He organized for me to actually visit the West Wing. So I got to see the Oval Office, I got to see the cabinet room, the press briefing room. It is a rather, really, really cool experience. Over the last 36 years, I have a chance to become a restaurant owner. Some of you may know, I run Tea Cozy at Plaza Singapura for 5.5 years, right in the middle of Orchard Road. It's a fantastic place. I love it. We serve great food. I made really, really good friends. I had a chance to author my first book in 2010, which helped young people start their youth organization called the Starters Kit, published by the National Youth Council. I had a chance to win a couple of awards, and I think the MC said this year the privilege of being awarded the Singapore Youth Award, which I am very, very, very grateful for it. And one of the proudest things I have was to build an organization called Halogen, of which you are now a part of. You will live in my memory when I look back in my last 36 years, because you play a huge part in what Halogen becomes. This is my crazy staff team who has made today possible. Do you think I can give them a big round of applause? I think they did really, really well. But of all the proudest thing that I have in the full life that I've lived was that one crazy woman decided to marry me. And that's my wife. I was a poor young church worker. When I proposed to her, I only had $500 in my bank account. She said yes. She didn't know I only have $500 in my bank account. And today I've got 2 girls. Megan's 7, Meredith's 5. I'm a P1 parent. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful 36 years. I honestly really think I lived a very, very full life. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for all the people that have come along the way. But you know what? Life is not without its fair share of challenges. This photo was taken in Dhaka Airport, of which we were grounded because of the fog. My plane was delayed for 18 hours. I have to cancel a family trip just because of that. But really, if you think about it, life isn't just all the happy moments that were on the photos earlier, right? It's all found on the internet. It isn't just all the happy moments, it's full of the challenges as well. This was some of my challenges. This is my PSLE results. My prelims, when I was doing my prelims, how many of you remember your PSLE? All right. I remember my PSLE. My prelims, I got A star for English, A for Chinese, A star for math, and A for science. That was my prelims. On results day, this is what I got. Do you think I was devastated? Because I know I could have done better. But maybe, just maybe, because I played too hard, I got really overconfident on myself because of my prelims. I said, you know what? I'm going to knock this dead. I can do it. I got 210 for my aggregate score. PM said that we may not do the aggregate score anymore, which I think is a good idea. I got 210. I forever remember the number. And I got a love letter from MOE to say that I have the option to join an express stream and normal stream. I'm not sure how many of you, very rare the government gives you an opportunity and an option. I got an option. I can choose where I go. Honestly, if I look back now of what I have learned, either course I go to, I think I'll do fine. Either course I go to, I think I'll do fine. But the reality is that when I look back, I wish I've studied a little bit harder, just that little bit harder. That was my first setback. My second setback came in my O-levels. I did my O-levels and my results were there. There was not something to be very, very happy with. But you know what? I was very happy with my results. I made history in my school. When I got back my prelims result, guess how many points did I get? I got 36 points. I think I deserve a clap. Come on. I did so well that I thought I was the legend in school. I got 36 points. No one in the school ever did that well until my friend came to me and said, hey, sorry, you're not the record holder. I said, why? I am. How many do you get? 42. Okay. On O-levels days, the whole of Singapore received the results at 2 p.m. I went back to school that day. I went back a little bit earlier to say hi to all my teachers and my friends. And my principal saw me. You must understand, me and my principal are very good friends. You know why? I'm always standing outside his principal's office and guarding his door. So he knows me very well. And he said, come on in. So I went inside. His name is Mr. Sidney Tan. He asked me how am I, what was I doing. I shared with him. And at 12 p.m., while the official result come at 2, he asked me, do you want to know your results? I said, I'm waiting for 2 o'clock. Do you want to know your results? I said, yeah, sure. So he took out a piece of stack of paper, and at 12 o'clock, I got my results. I was the first person in the whole of Singapore to get my results. He asked me for my IC number, and he read my result one subject after the other. Guess how many points I got? I got 17 points. He asked me this question. He said, Martin, are you happy? I said, hello, Mr. Tan, 36 to 17, you need to give me Best Improvement Award, you know. But he said something that I will always remember till today. He said this, Martin, you could have done better. I remember this story till today, you know why? Because it was true. What he said was true. I could have done better. But I made mistakes along the way. Life is full of its setbacks. This is my dad and my mom. When I was 17 years old, a year after I joined Polytechnic, I decided to join a film school. I was out on a soccer field playing football. And back then, it was all pages, right? It wasn't handphones back then. I got 27 pages from my home. Now, young people, you know this, right? If you got 27 missed calls from your home, either someone is in trouble or you are in trouble. Don't you think? Either, no two ways about it. I received a phone call from my mom to say that my father passed away when he was on work in the Philippines. I was 17 years old. I was dazed. A good friend of mine brought me back home. I walked around. All my relatives were there. They couldn't get me for a good 6 hours because I was playing nonstop. I was on the field. They couldn't get me. He died on the 9th of July, 1994. My birthday is 7th of July. 2 days before, he called me to wish me happy birthday. Was I at home? I was celebrating. I never got to speak to my dad because he wanted to wish me happy birthday. I wasn't there. And 2 days later, he passed away. I was 17. That left a deep impression for me because for the large part of my second half of my 36 years, I've never had an adult or a male role model in my dad. Some of you may be in the same predicament as me. It was always important to have someone, but other Christian men came along to help me along. Other mentors of mine made a huge difference. As I grew a bit older, we got married, which was a great highlight in my life, and we had our first child. I told you I got Megan, I got Meredith. If you see the picture on the screen, you will see a little baby on the right-hand screen. That's Matthias. Matthias is my firstborn son. I have 3 kids. Megan, number 2. Meredith is number 3. Matthias was born prematurely at around about 23 weeks. His lungs wasn't formed. His body wasn't formed. And the doctors told us that there is no way that he can survive. He was put on life support. He was put on a machine. The problem with putting him on the machine was because they didn't know how old he was. During the emergency, when we were wheeled to the hospital, the doctor asked me, how many weeks is the baby? Now, I'm a dad. I'm not the mom. The mom knows every single day. The dad just knows he's coming. So that's all dads know, right? How many weeks? I think 24, 25 weeks. How would I know? So they kept him alive as they would because before 23 weeks, they can't do anything by law. But because he was put on a machine, the doctors told me, Martin, there is no way he can survive without a machine. But we can't turn it off unless you say so. So at the age of 31 years old, with my firstborn son, I have to tell the doctors, turn off the machine. And this is what I told them. I said that there is a 3-hour period. If he survives the 3-hour period, he has a fighting chance. And this is what I told the doctors. Take off the machine, stay with him for 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, if he fights past that critical time, you do everything to make sure he's alive. 3.5 hours later, he passed away in our arms. We're just very grateful as parents we have the opportunity to hold him alive in our hands. I can tell you many stories about him. But the reality is probably one of the biggest setback in my life in the last 36 years. Halogen went through a difficult time as well, and I'm giving you on this chronologically. Back in 08 and 09, around about our 5th year mark, we went through a difficult time. We lost $120,000. We were in the red. We were facing debts. Why? Because you remember around about that time, we had H1N1. We weren't allowed in the schools. Our sales dropped by 30%. We have staff, we have office. We almost had to close. And around about the same time, I was running my restaurant, and my restaurant was not going too well as well. With H1N1, guess what? Does anybody go out and eat? Very few people. My restaurant went down as well. It was those times that I realized that, you know what? When you are tight for money, you are tight for money. I had to sell my car, the car that I love very much, one of my dream cars that I finally got. I had to sell it because we can't afford it anymore. We have to make some financial arrangements just to get by. We have to put some money. I had to talk to my wife. Can we loan some money to the organization just to keep it afloat? 5 years later, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary. This year marks the closure of the restaurant that I love very much. 5.5 years in April, we closed Tea Cozy. Not because it wasn't doing as well, but just because rental was too high. So I made all my staff an apron. He said, thanks, we'll miss feeding you. Because it was a big thing for us. We've loved what we did. We loved the restaurant. People love it. But we just couldn't afford it anymore. You know what, guys? Life does come with its fair share of challenges. I had a really, really full life. A really, really full 36 years. But you know what? In the last 36 years, in all my enjoyments, in all my highs of my life, I've gone through very, very deep valleys as well. So the larger question is this: what have I learned? What did I learn all these years? You know, in life, there are two things. There are things that are the positive, there are things that are the negative. So you probably guessed by now this is the one that I took from the internet. There are three things that I think in life are overrated, and there are three things in life that are underrated. Can I share that with you very quickly? Just three things, all right? Make things easier to remember. Firstly, in my last 36 years, I realized that money is overrated. Money is overrated. You know why? There are so many people I know who spend their lifetime chasing after money. They want to make the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, which is great. There's nothing wrong with money. Money is really important. Without money, we can't subsidize you to run these events. Every event we run costs us $20,000 to $30,000. You just work out the math. Your tickets is about $16. There's 1,000 of you. The event is only $16,000. I need to raise $16,000 from somewhere just to break even. All right? So every single student here, we spend a whole lot of resources trying to raise funds so that you can attend an event like this. Together with teachers, to get all the programs that you attend in schools, we raise funds for it. Because we believe that this is what you need. So money is important. But money is not everything. One of my goals to say that, one of my dreams in my life is that before I'm 35, I want to make $1 million. Every young person wants to do that. But I work in a charity. But you know what? I share this openly with you that we have been very fortunate in our property investment. We bought our first house, we sold our first house, we bought our second house, we sold our second house. And at the age of 35, I made my first $1 million. When I got my check of the first $1 million, and I work in a charity, it's all in my investments. When I got the check, can I say this to you? It wasn't as superly happy as I thought I would be. When I got the check in the lawyer's office, guess what? I took an MRT home. And I told myself, you know what? All these dreams about making $1 million, now I have it in my hands, but it doesn't make that much difference to how I feel as a human being. Why? Because money is overrated. It's what you do with your money that makes the meaning out from it. So that's the first thing that I think is overrated. Number two, I think fame is overrated. Eddie works with a lot of celebrities. And he will probably tell you one thing. That the leaders that he and I have met and the celebrities that he and I have met, they're what? They're just purely human beings. They're no different from you and I. Fame is overrated. We chase after being in the press, in the media, and so on. It's good while it lasts. But guess what? It doesn't last very long. Today, you are the hot topic in the media. Tomorrow, you'll be someone else. So fame is overrated. If you keep chasing about fame, guess what? One media report, you chase after the next media report, you chase after the next media report. Life goes round in circles. Thirdly, I think pride is overrated. You know, sometimes young people, can I say this? There are times in my life I am too proud to admit I was wrong. I'm not sure about if you go through the same situations that I go through. But you know what? We know we are wrong. We know we made a mistake, but guess what? We're too proud to admit we're wrong. But pride is overrated. Faith sometimes is overrated. You know why? Because sometimes our pride gets in the way of solving problems, of making right decisions. If there's anything I've learned in my last 36 years, is that pride normally brings my downfall more than it brings me up. The decisions that I make wrong is always because I was too proud to admit I was wrong. So money, fame, and pride. My time is coming to a close, so I'm going to move very quickly. 3 things that I think are underrated, that I think young people that you should consider spending more time thinking about it. 1, curiosity is underrated. Today, we live in an information world. The internet is at our fingertips. We can Google anything we want. But guess what? Because it's so accessible, we don't ask questions anymore. Whenever we see something on Facebook, we see on internet, we take it as its gospel truth and we repost it without even saying, hey, is that true? How many of you receive on Facebook a picture of toothpaste and saying the different colors? All right, there's a picture of toothpaste and say green is for eco-friendly, black is for toxic, and so on and so forth. How many received that on Facebook? All right, a couple of hands. I know I did. The amount of people who thought that was true is incredible. You know why? Because we take whatever people post as truth. We don't ask questions anymore. We have become less curious as a group of people. If there's anything I want my daughters to develop, it's the sense of curiosity. You know why? Because when you're curious about things, you will take the effort to find things out. That's where learning begins. Number 2, I think forgiveness is underrated. We don't talk about forgiveness as much. And you've got to understand, I just passed the youth age, so I think I qualify to be an old man nagging about some things. Is that okay? I think forgiveness is underrated. We don't talk about forgiveness. We tell people, let bygones be bygones. But you know what? Many times we bear grudges. We can say to one, you know what? I'll still be your friend, but we keep it inside. We look at our parents and we get upset about certain things and we say, you know what? I can forget about it, but I may not forgive you. I don't know about you, I do that many, many times. But forgiveness brings about a whole new change in our psyche that brings about changes in the way that we live our lives. Last but not least, I think patience is underrated. Today, we live in a consumeristic world. Everything that we do, we want it instantaneous. How many of you, be honest, okay? How many of you stand in front of a microwave wishing that it goes faster? Think about what I have just said. How many of us stand in front of a microwave wishing it goes faster? You can't get faster than that, but yet, guess what? We want it to be quick. We want it to be fast. Why? We have not developed patience. Some things takes time. I just came back from Phoenix, Arizona. I was in the desert. And I wanted to say this, that I swam in the desert. So I woke up very early morning to swim in the pool, just to be able to tell you this sentence, I swam in the desert. Phoenix, Arizona is miles and miles of cactus. And I'm told that a cactus this height, round about my waist length here, is 150 years old. All the cactus are about 2 or 3 meters tall. Things takes time to grow. Changes takes time to create. What are some things that we wish it goes faster, but actually it needs time to make sure it's right and it's good? So patience, I think, is underrated. So the beauty of life in the last 36 years, I find, is that everything melts together, the highs and the lows, the things we really overrate because we think they are much better than what it really is, and things that we should really make it much better than we have put it to be in our priority list. So I think about my daughters. I said that, you know what? If today is my last day with them, what are my advice to them in my deathbed? And I have my daughters in my mind when I want to say these three things. Can I share that with you? Is it okay so far? Am I boring you? So let me share with you these three things that I want my daughters to learn in their lifetime. Number one, keep a sense of wonder. Always keep a sense of wonder. Sometimes we take things so negatively. Sometimes we look at a magic trick and all we want to do is to find out how he did it, to expose that person. You know what? Enjoy it. Enjoy the sense of wonder. Wow, how did he do that? And enjoy it. I'm a film student. The problem of being a 3-year film student is that I can no longer enjoy films. Every time I go and watch a film, I criticize it. Why? Because I'm taught to critique films. Until one day I told myself, this is ridiculous. I'm not enjoying my films anymore. So I shut it off and I say, you know what? When I go for a movie for entertainment, I go for a movie for entertainment. And I'm not going to criticize it. I'm just going to enjoy it for pure entertainment. Keep a sense of wonder. Number two, don't ever live a life of regret. I remember all my stories of my PSLE, of my O-levels, because in my life I don't have many regrets. Those were the few. And I remember them to today. And you will realize that the more regrets you have in your life growing up, the more you have things to look back to. So don't live a life of regrets. If there's things that you want to accomplish, go for it. If it's time to mark for your studies so that you finish your O-levels, you finish your A-levels, you finish your N-levels, you finish your ITE, you finish your A-level, whatever exam that comes, you know what? Just tell yourself, I live to 85 years old. These 2 months, I can waste it on studying. Because that's how we see it, right? But you know what? Once we get the results, we can look back and say, I've done my very best. Megan came back one day with her exams results. Not exam, but like tests. And she was very disappointed. She got out of 15, she got 13. I said, that's very good already, what? But she said, oh, you know, this one and that one. And I said to her, I asked her only this question. I said, Megan, did you do your best? And she said, yeah. You know what? That's all I ask for. And young people, can I say this to you? I work with your teachers. And many of them have become my good friends. And many of the teachers only ask for one thing as well. Your parents too. It's not for you to be the A-star student, every single one of you. Some of you will be good students. Some of you academically, you are strong in other things. But all we ask is that you do your very best. That when you look back at your exams, when you look back at your teenage years, you say, you know what, I've done every day the best that I could. Last but not least, choose to forgive. This picture is the picture of Nelson Mandela's prison cell in Robben Island in South Africa, Cape Town. How many of you do not know who Nelson Mandela is? You don't know? Okay, how many of you know Nelson Mandela? All right. Nelson Mandela is a South African president who lived through 30 over years in this prison cell because of what we call the apartheid. He came out, he was released, he became the president, he united a whole country together. If you want to know more about his story in a more entertainment style but really good, watch the film Invictus. It's a story of Nelson Mandela and the South African rugby team. He came out, he became the president, and all his supporters asked him, it is now our time to prosecute, to throw in jail those people who have thrown you in jail. You know what he did? He didn't. He chose to forgive. He said, you know what? It's better to forgive than to live with all this baggage. Now, he is a world leader that everyone looks up to for world peace because he chose to forgive. South Africa is what it is today. The unity between the whites and the blacks are what it is today because a man like Nelson Mandela chose to forgive. And sometimes young people, can I say this as well? Choosing to forgive is also to forgive ourselves. I don't know about you, but I make really stupid mistakes. I look at your faces, you know, you don't make mistakes in life, right? Maybe we're different, but you know what? I make a lot of mistakes in my life. Things that I regret doing. But in order for me to move forward, I need to choose to forgive myself. and say, you know what, I've made a mistake. I won't repeat it. I'm going to move on. These are the 3 things I'll leave with my daughters, and I hope I'll leave that with you. If there's only 3 advice I give, keep a sense of wonder. Let your heart be trickled when you see amazing things happening. Don't just condemn it just because other people say so. Don't be quick to judge, and just be quick to say, you know what, this is really pretty cool. Choose to forgive, and don't live a life of regret. I titled my talk 36 and Counting because I really don't intend to die after this talk. I really don't. I think I've got a long, long way to go with medical advancement. I'm hoping to walk my daughters down the aisle. I really want to. I want to hold her by the arms, walk her down the aisles, and then look at the jerk in front. And like all fathers, I'm going to take her hand. I'm going to put into his hands. I'm going to look him eyeball to eyeball. No, I'm going to say to him, young man, over to you now. It's your credit card, not mine. Guys, thank you so much for letting me share all this with you. It has been an amazing, amazing, amazing experience. Thank you very much.